Hi, I watched Color Rush Season 1 and Season 2 and here's my review. Hyunwoo is a mono, a person who can only see the world around him in shades of grey. In this world, each mono has a probe, and a probe is a person who is able to make a mono see colors. One day, right after he changed school, Hyunwoo meets his own probe, who is Yuan. Okay, for this first season of Color Rush, I watched it when it came out and I was very excited to watch it because of its concept. I really liked the concept of mono and probe and all the things going on between them. So I was really excited about it. However, when I watched Season 2, I actually reviewed Season 1, but after I watched Season 2, so I don't really remember every feeling and every thought I had during my first watch of Season 1, and then since I did it after watching Season 2, I could only compare. I couldn't really have authentic feelings about Season 1 anymore, so my opinion on Season 1 is mostly going to be based in comparison to Season 2. Unfortunately, I did a mistake. But it's true that I was really excited to see this drama, and I know that I rated Season 1 a lot better the first time than I did on the second watch, unfortunately. First time, I think I rated it 9. If I remember correctly, it was 9, but this time I went for 7.5. First, because I couldn't help comparing it to the second season, and I saw a few things, but I actually think a lot of things are done better in the first season, and I'm going to talk about it right now. The first thing that I think is really done a lot better in Season 1 is the production. Strangely enough, first season looks a lot better visually when you look at it. Even the songs and everything else used in it. The OST are pretty well done, and they fade correctly when they have to. It doesn't seem too choppy, too cut, and it's even actually pretty nice to watch. I didn't realize it the first time, but when I compared it to Season 2, where I think the production was a bit below first season, I realized that it was actually not that bad, the quality of the image. Second thing I preferred in Season 1 is actually the romance, in the sense that in Season 2 there's not much romance going on actually, but first season is really focused on that, on the relationship between Hyunwoo and Hyun. So you get a lot of romance and a lot of looks and a lot of thoughts, feelings, everything that you don't really get in Season 2. And since I'm a sucker for romance, for this I have to admit that I preferred it in Season 1. However, just like Season 2, the only real problem I have with this drama is how too quick it is. It is way too short to have such a complex story to tell. 8 episodes of 15 minutes. It's really difficult to create something. Even though Hyunwoo talks about mono and probes as soulmates, you still have, in my opinion, to create something between the two. And that's about it for actually what I have to say about Color Rush 1. I liked it, and since I was expecting it so much and I really liked the idea of the plot, I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, if I try to be a bit objective, it's really not the best and it's too sad, really. But Hyunwoo does a really good job. I think, Hyunjun, I think his name is, does a good job too, but Hyunwoo really grabbed my attention in both seasons. Anyway, so now I'm going to go into Color Rush 2 because I actually have a few things that are linked and really comparing to both seasons, so I'm going right away in Season 2. In this season, Yuan went missing just like Hyunwoo's mother did before, and he kind of goes on a quest to discover the truth of what happened and what is happening with the help of a new friend he made, who is Seon. Right off the bat, I'm going to talk about how Hyunjun isn't present in this season. First time I heard the news, I was really sad. I thought they were going to change the actor, but they did nothing of that because Yuan went missing. But when I heard that the second main character was actually going to be Hyuk from VIX, I was very, very glad and happy because I really like VIX. I always like them, and at some point I think Hyuk was my bias too, so I was really glad he was in there. So no real hard feelings about that. However, it's a bit sad because I read that it was Hyunjun who decided not to continue on this drama. So of course we don't know the reasons why, but yeah, it's a bit sad. Okay, first I'm going to talk about the production. For some reason, like I said just previously, the production in this one looks a lot cheaper. And I don't really understand why, because probably they should have had more money for a second season. My thought, and I don't know if it's right, but I think maybe it could be because of the difference of genres we have. Because in season 1, it's a romance. From start to finish, it's really all about romance. So you have all the codes and everything that make romance, it's all there. But it's in season 2, it's more about finding a truth, finding something, a quest, and there's not really romance in this season. Of course, love is brought, they talk about it, obviously. But it's not a full-fledged romance because his lover went missing, right? But yeah, I think maybe it's the change which made the production look a bit weird, because you don't film action and everything like you film romance. And that said, the action sequences in this drama, when they fight or things like that, are really badly done, unfortunately, and it's a shame. I don't know what they did. The sound was weird. All of a sudden, you would just hear sound. It's like the volume would go down a lot, and you would just hear like closes, like this, and breathing hard. It was really weird, and the music was also very often cutting too abruptly between scenes. It was not as good as season 1, and it's a shame. Also, and to finish on this part, it feels like the story has too much information. Too many things and information are coming at you, and sometimes I was just completely lost. I couldn't understand anything of what was happening. First, in season 1, Yeonwoo kind of completely went crazy when Hyunjun wasn't with him. At some point, he kind of started wanting to kidnap him and keep him just so he could see colors, He started getting these thoughts like a lot of mono people do, because they get very dependent. So at some point, he really starts kind of going kind of crazy, and he even tries to kill himself. Because he doesn't want to hurt Hyunjun, but he doesn't want to feel this way either. So he tries to kill himself. But in season 2, Hyunjun disappeared, but he seems okay. So I don't know if it's because something changed in him after he tried to kill himself, or if maybe it's something to do about time. After some time you get used to just seeing black and white again, because it's actually kind of the same thought I got when he was talking to this girl in season 2 who her boyfriend left, who had depression, and she was there because she wanted to get the surgery to get to see colors again. But she seemed fine too, like not completely fine. You could see she looked tired and everything, but I think it has to do with where she is at the moment, in the place she is working in. But she doesn't seem on the verge of complete breakdown. And it's the same for Hyunwoo. So I don't really know what to do of this, because in season 1 it's really extreme how bad he's feeling, and in season 2 it's okay. It's just like a lover is missing, and even that is a bit... And second thing is a bit related, but in season 1 they kind of emphasized how being a mono was just mostly a problem when you would meet your probe, because it could lead to really psychotic and crazy actions from the mono's part, a very big dependence. So, it would be a problem at this moment, and Yeonwoo at some point even says that sometimes it's even better for mono to never meet their probe because of this. However, in season 2, it's been 6 months since Yuan went missing, and he had the same clothes, I think, as he had at the end of season 1, so it must be around this moment. The thing is, suddenly everyone seems to hate mono people. They are everywhere, they bully them. So of course, I get that some people could be very wary of them, and very scared of them, because some people do this kind of things. But normal people do these kinds of things too, you know, crazy things. And I don't know, it was not made as such a problem of being a mono in season 1. Just like living an ordinary life, and that's it. Just seeing black and white, and maybe going crazy, potentially going crazy, if you meet your probe by chance. That was it. And in season 2, I don't know, it seems to be bigger of a problem to be a mono, and I couldn't really understand. I was lost because it was in contradiction with what was said in season 1. Now, I can't go about season 2 without talking, of course, about Yok's character, who is Seon. Okay, so this topic is a bit tricky because from what I read online, people have a lot of different thoughts. It's very divided between those who prefer Hyunwoo with Seon and people who prefer Hyunwoo with Yuhan. Okay, if I'm completely honest with myself, I think I also prefer Seon with Hyunwoo, and I'm going to explain why. So first, it kind of showed something that I didn't really imagine, like a mono and a mono together. I mean, when you think about it, they are the perfect people to be together. They really understand each other completely. They went through the same things, So I really like that. And when I think about it, even though I like Yuhan and he was really nice, you know, I loved everything he did for Hyunwoo. Well, it was also for himself, since he had this huge secret. He was also dependent of Hyunwoo, but that's actually the problem. When you compare the two relationships in season 1 and season 2, you can see, well, at least it's the case for me, I can see that the relationship of Hyunwoo and Yuan is a lot more based on dependence more than anything else. Sure, some feelings can grow between them, but I more see it as dependence and not really love. If you compare it to season 2, as Seon really likes Hyunwoo and he wants to help him, of course he has an agenda too, because he wants to know who did this to his little sister. But he really wants to help him, he wants to be a support for him. I don't know, I find them really, really cute together. They really want to help each other, they can understand each other so much. So I wouldn't be sad or mad if they ended up together. However, that said, I think it's very unlikely, because if this was made as a full drama and not cut into seasons, I think if we get a continuation, like we had a little tease at the end, that there could possibly be a season 3. If we get a season 3, chances are Hyunwoo is going to finish with Yuhan. I would feel bad for Yuhan, of course, if Hyunwoo was to finish with Seon. Of course I would feel bad for him, really, really bad, and that's why I was so conflicted when I finished the drama. I thought, who am I going to be for? Yuhan or Seon, you know? But yeah, I think in the end it's really Seon, and yeah, like I said, if you take it as a full drama, Seon is kind of the second guy. The guy who likes the main guy, but is just the second guy, so is never going to get the main guy. Sometimes it happens that the second guy gets to end up with the main, but it's very, very rare, and I doubt it's going to be this way. But I would like it, because at the same time, and I'm actually going to take this moment to talk about it in the last little scene at the end. So it's Yuan, and at first I was lost. I was like, why is his face bandaged? But then I thought maybe, just maybe, maybe this woman with him, I can't remember her profession or if it was said, but Yuan mentioned that in his family there is a congresswoman, and I was wondering if it was not this woman being of his family, and she kidnapped him and made him go through plastic surgery to completely change his face. And this way he would not be the probe of the mono anymore. Because technically it has to do with the face, right? So if he doesn't have the same face anymore, it doesn't work, right? So yeah, that's my little thoughts I had for the end of this drama. So yeah, I would feel bad because if it's going to turn out like this, Hyun-woo is going to be delivered from his dependence from Hyun, but normally Hyun is still not going to see faces, unfortunately for him. So yeah, I'm going to feel very sad for him. So to finish on this topic, yes, I really hope that Hyun-woo and Seon are going to end up together, even though I don't think it's going to be this way. And I'm really glad they didn't separate at the end because they really tricked me. I thought he was really going to leave. And at that point, since we hadn't seen the last scene at the end, it felt like everything was resolved, you know, like, okay, now the case is cracked and we know everything, so, you know, I'm just gonna leave. And I was like, Yuhan? Where is Yuhan? We don't know. He had no... Why was he taken away? Why was he kidnapped? He's not a mono. But yeah, with the scene, it all makes sense, and like I said, I think he had to undergo surgery because of his face, so he wouldn't be a probe anymore. Yeah, now the last little thing I want to talk about in season 2 is the mom. Unfortunately, it was kind of predictable, but it was still sad to learn for real that she was dead. Especially when her sister was making the report about the cases and the dead body found in this place, and she saw her thing she used to put in her hair, and wow, it was really sad, and how she started crying and everything. I wanted to cry with her. I had no hope that she would be alive. It would be a bit unrealistic if she was after so much time, honestly, but it was still really sad to me to really learn about it this way. Actually, I forgot to mention, I was so surprised to learn that Seon was a mono. I don't know if anyone else expected it or if it was a surprise for everyone. I realized it at the same time as Hyun-woo and I was really shocked, but at the same time I was so happy. Like I said, I really like this relationship they are building between monos. Second thing in this is how two mono can't be together, and I don't understand that because it was never said at any moment at all that two mono can't be together. I don't think it's written in stone that a mono can't be with another mono person. So this little daydreaming was very weird. Maybe it was just Seon's imagination of what would happen and it's not kind of true or actual in their world, but it felt very funny because it was really said and placed as a fact. So I don't know, it was weird. If I compare both seasons, overall I preferred season 1, but in terms of chemistry, I really prefer season 2. I feel like Hyun-woo and Seon have a lot more chemistry together than actually mono and probe have together. So I really like that, and I wish we could see more of them, and hopefully we do if we get a season 3, and hopefully they end up together. Also, at some point, I think it was in a hospital after they were saved, there was this little reference to the mummy, and I really liked it because it's a movie I really enjoyed and saw quite a few times. So yeah, it was really nice. Just the little reference was enough to make my day. But yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say. Don't hesitate to tell me which team you're on, if you're more for Hyun and Hyun-woo or Seon and Hyun-woo to end up together if we get a last season. Apparently, since it was Hyunjun who didn't want to continue, we're going to get a new actor for him, and it would make sense with plastic surgery, right? So we're going to get a new face, and that's it for me. I said everything I wanted to say this time. I'm sure I did. So yeah, don't hesitate to tell me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!